One of the hardest things to create is a stable routine for our children to kind of get in motion into the day-to-day activities. It is also hard for us to kind of fit everything that we want to and still feel like we're teaching them. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to create the perfect schedule that works for your family.
It sings to the bottom too.
It sings to the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay, the next. Toddlers thrive on repetition, they thrive on expectation, and there will be less tantrums and easier days as we create a schedule. It is also good for us to understand what things happen and what time throughout the day. It is hard to create schedules when we're stay-at-home mom because we are not only responsible for the house that we have to maintain and everybody that we have to take care of, but on top of it, the teachings that we want to do throughout the day with our kids. So we are the school, the cook, the cleaning lady, and all of the above. But today we're going to create a schedule based on rhythms. Establishing rhythms throughout the day and throughout the week is going to allow your child and yourself to feel like the day is moving. You're going to not feel overwhelmed. They know what to expect. So it is important to create these rhythms throughout the day. So what are rhythms? Rhythms are the motions of eating, sleeping, resting, playing, and so on throughout the day. The schedule is not more focused on at specific times, time watch, but more like what things do we do one thing after the next. So establishing this positive rhythm through your family creates a foundation of expectation and joyous feeling throughout the day. This type of schedule is going to give you the principles that as your child grows and as your child develops, you are going to be able to customize this and tweak your rhythm to fit your new growing child. When they start from 3 naps and they move to 2 naps, and then when they go to 1 nap, and then when there is no nap, this type of scheduling is going to help you to create this rhythm. It doesn't mean that once we create this schedule, it's going to stay like that and there's going to be no change. It is going to change. The kids change all the time, and once we think we have it all figured out, they're going to change again. But when I started creating my routines like this, it made me realize that I have flexibility and I knew how to tweak it without tweaking it too much. One of the things that I want to ask you is, how is the start of your day? So part of creating the activities for our activities and our responsibilities, it is also how our kids feel throughout the day. And I want to take this opportunity to add a little bit of that joyous moments and those bonding opportunities, because it is easy to get caught up in the day-to-day of our days and the emotions of what needs to be happening and the rush to get out of the door because we have music class. But it is important to see the world through your child's eyes. How is your child waking up? How is that first greeting? Are they being greeted the same way every time? I always say, how did you sleep? Oh, hi baby, good morning. I'm so happy to see them. And he absolutely loves this beautiful greeting because every single morning he knows to expect that. He knows that we're gonna have that little moment of bonding. Even if the day to day it gets busy, you can always fall on like we had that special moment in the morning. So find throughout the days little pockets of joy, little pockets of warmth that you can find. A child's brain is wired to do 3 things: to move, to imagine, and to imitate. And we're going to add a little bit like to create. And we're going to create our schedule based on those things. So we need time to move, we need time to imagine, we need time to imitate, and we need time to create. So how can we fulfill these needs that our child have throughout our day? Let's talk about move. Movement is something that they just are always doing. And if you start seeing your child climbing things they're not supposed to in the house or speaking too loudly in the house, it is time to move. And the easiest way to move is to actually go outside. You can go to a playground, you can go out biking. And one of the things that I discovered that we had to do during quarantine was time to move. It was time to do nature walks. And actually this week's activity, this week's challenge is going to challenge you to go on a nature walk, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So they need time to move. You can go to the playground, you can go to gymnastics, you can go on a nature walk, just time to get out and move. Remember, if your child is screaming in the house, if your child is too loud, it is time to go outside. And this might happen several times throughout the day because they are just developing all those muscles and their body needs to move. Time to imagine. Imaginative play. First, they will just imitate everything that you do, their daily routines, how they eat, how they bathe, how mama reads the book. And as they grow, they're going to start imitating other things that they're seeing outside. So they'll start seeing them imitating to walk the dog, or maybe they imitate the firefighters and all those like helpful community personas. They thrive on trying to recreate the world around them. So if you're someone that cooks a lot, maybe your child is going to recreate through their imagination that. So they'll play with their little kitchen, they'll try to recreate what you're doing. Maybe if you involve them together to cut the fruit for breakfast, they'll try to recreate it during play. To foster this part of imagination and that imitation, we want to have what we call open-ended toys. And open-ended toys, it's a toy that it has no meaning until the child puts a meaning to it. So if I give you a bag of rocks, they have no meaning. But if I give you a bag of rocks inside a little bowl and I say, here is your breakfast, so now those rocks have a meaning, right? If I give you a bunch of sticks, they have no meaning. But if I give you a bunch of sticks and I said, oh, here are my pencils, let's draw together, they become and have some meaning. So if I give you this, right, it's a lobster, it can't be anything but a lobster. So this is not an open-ended toy because the toy is telling you how to play with it and what is it for. So when you have your selection of toys throughout the week, you want to make sure you add a little bit of those open-ended toys. This also fosters a little bit of independent play, and at the beginning, because they don't have a lot of that extra imagination to recreate things, they need you more. But you can together kind of play and recreate some of those routines and those rhythms that you already have throughout the day. And that's going to kind of teach them to use that creativity muscle to like start recreating things. It is important that you actually include them in your daily routines. So are you already including them in some of your routines? Is there something that they can always help you with, even if it's just the plants or cleaning the windows or washing the dishes? What is something that you can include throughout your week or throughout your day that they can help you? So now we're ready to put all that into practice. Let's start to create our perfect schedule. So we know that we need them to move, we need them to imagine, to imitate, and I'm gonna put here, they need to learn learn like sensory and art and all those fun activities. So this is your weekly schedule. The first thing that you need to do is you need to do what are those like things that are set in stone. Nap always happens at the same time usually. Do you have one nap? Do you have two naps? Is your child napping twice or is not napping at all? You need to add that in. I'm going to divide this in the morning, and this is going to be in the afternoon, right? We have morning and we have afternoon. What are those things that we do in the morning? If you go to a class on Tuesdays and Thursdays, in the mornings, that's going to take care of your mornings, which means you have the afternoon to fill up. If there's nothing going on in the afternoon, you don't have any errands or things that you always do, maybe you always go to the supermarket on Tuesdays, you're gonna put that in. And then let's say here is just bedtime. My type of schedule is I always had a learning activity in the mornings on the days that I wasn't going to class. And that was a 5-minute activity that we would do every day after breakfast. And it started, we would always go to the same place, in the same chair, in the same moment, and we would work with one of the learning binders. But you can just pick what is it that you're going to do right after breakfast. I did it because I am very active and energetic in the morning, but if you're not a morning person, then maybe don't focus there. So before we even actually get into this, which I forgot to mention, I want you to start noticing your levels of energy and your child's level of energy. So are they requiring a very active morning, or they're slow to start? We are a family that mornings are like rushed, like we just need that spike of energy. So I try to take advantage of that energy to do their stuff in the morning. I have a friend who is they wake up late. It takes them a long time to get out of the bed. Breakfast is slow. So most of their activities happen in the afternoon and nighttime. So that's why it is called the perfect schedule for you. What is the level of your energy? What is the level of your child's energy? And I'll tell you a little bit something. My level of energy after 3 p.m., it is very low, but my child requires a very high active energy at that time. So let's talk about the things that we need to add. Let's talk about movement. So can we take them to the park at 3 o'clock, because that's when I am exhausted and he can be in the playground? So at 3 p.m. every day, I'm going to go to the playground, and that's going to be my movement. And imagination and imitation. So maybe when I'm cooking, I can start getting him to play some independent time. So maybe as I'm doing the kitchen dinner and prepping, I will give him a little toy set or something that he can independently play next to me as we prepare, let's say, lunch. So here's my lunchtime, and that's where imagination is gonna come. And one of the things that I want you to start adding, and maybe not daily, but weekly, is some type of sensory play. So let's start this week by creating some play activities with just water. So let's say on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we're just gonna have a little bucket of water and we're going to play. So once you figure out the things that you want to fit in, so you need some time to move throughout the week, mostly throughout the day. You're gonna need time for imagination, time for imitation, and then time to learn. So my learning time was those 5 minutes in the morning, and maybe right after our park, we would come in and we would do a sensory activity, or maybe it's just that water play. So you want to try to test different ideas how you would use this system, just making sure every day you have time to move, time for independent play or just play with imagination, and time to learn. Kids learn throughout the day, so just because you're not sitting there for 1 hour and a half back to back doesn't mean they're not learning. But you do want to have the opportunity to create those pockets in the day, to create those learning opportunities where you either sit together to work on something just 5 minutes, or you prepare an activity like the water bin that we had here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, where they're going to be able to just play independently and explore on their own. Follow the next video. I will tell you what we're going to do with our nature walk, which, by the way, we didn't even put it in the schedule. So when are we going to go on our nature walk? When are you going to go on our nature walk? You can go every single day and do the activity over and over and over again, or you can just pick one day to test it out and see how you guys like it. So let me know in the community, when do you guys do your activity, or like after you do it, how did it go? And I'll see you on the next video where I'll tell you all the details about this nature walk. All right, see you then.